President of the Australian Jewish Association, Robert Gregory. Robert, it's nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining me on the show. This is a very important conversation to have. What are your thoughts on that first up? What is the line in your view?
Well, you're right. That is a very important conversation we're having. And after 21 months, when the Jewish community has experienced firebomb attacks on synagogues, restaurant diners threatened, this is a very constructive and important report. And I think looking at some of the individual points, some of them will have a major impact. For example, calling for greater screening of immigrants to Australia, I think is a very, very welcome step, as well as what you mentioned, that the funding going towards universities and arts organizations is a major issue. And we've seen President Trump in the United States has withheld money from certain universities, and this has had a major positive effect. So some of the points when it comes to hate speech, there are differing views within the Jewish community and the general community, and we do take some issue with what's contained in the report. But I think on balance, it's a very positive report, and the proof will be in the pudding. Will the government actually implement it?
What do you take issue with in the report?
I think when it comes to hate speech, different people have different definitions, and many people don't believe it's the role of the government to define that anyway. So my organization and many people would hold that if you are directly inciting violence, threatening violence, then that should be illegal. But when it comes to merely just spreading hate, while it may be deplorable and detestable, it might not necessarily be something where criminal law should be brought in. But we do recognize there are obviously different opinions within the community.
And Gillian Segal said today on Sky News, as we've just played there, she said if you're calling for the destruction of Israel, that would constitute it. Do you agree with that sense?
Well, I think that could now be coming into the incitement to violence. So rather than just making a discriminatory statement, if you're calling for destruction of the only nation state of the Jewish people, that may be crossing the line into incitement. And I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah. Look, the recommendations, let's talk about them. Of course, the Prime Minister is yet to accept any, even though surely he's been kept abreast of these issues for the last 9 months since Gillian Segal began her investigation. A lot of it is actually already in law, in the Migration Act. You know, you can deport people. But the problem I think we're seeing is a lot of our existing laws are not being enforced and haven't been enforced since October 7. Is that part of the problem?
That's exactly it. I mean, it seems like the Prime Minister's been riding on the coattails of this report. He's been doing a lot of interviews and getting a lot of credit when, as you said, he hasn't actually implemented any of the recommendations. And this is the same government and the same Prime Minister that just 2 weeks ago was banning a Jewish speaker from America from visiting, that was imposing sanctions on ministers in Israel. So I find it hard to believe that they've done a complete 180 in the space of a couple of weeks. But if we give them the benefit of the doubt, then yes, there are existing laws that should be applied. And I think there needs to be much greater focus from police and where there's political will, pressuring police to apply the laws that exist rather than just introducing new laws every time there's an issue.
Are you disappointed that there even had to be an inquiry into anti-Semitism in this country? I mean, it hasn't been addressed since day dot. It's taken a report for it to be on the national radar.
It's very disappointing. On October 9, so just a couple of days after October 7, we saw the ugly scenes at the Sydney Opera House. Yeah. And it was clear then there was a problem. It should have been dealt with at the time. I don't think we need more task forces and reports and committees, but we need action from government and action from police.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Look, let's see what happens now, I guess. Let's see if Labor does adopt the recommendations and how it will play out in our society, as we've just been talking about. Robert Gregory, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining me on set today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, still to